This is Asake Online. Welcome to Agriculture On Cite. Irrigation is an effective way of boosting crop productivity, especially on the back of growing water scarcity. Effective irrigation can help farmers grow crops by saving water and continuously countering the impacts of drought and dry spells. What irrigation systems are there, and how can they contribute to agriculture productivity? To find out more, we speak to a specialist in all things irrigation. My guest in today's program is Luther Mashava, an irrigation specialist at DripTech, who will share his insights on the benefits and opportunities of irrigation systems in farming. Luther, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Bafana, for having me on your program, and welcome to our new Flower site. We are happy to be here. We are happy to be working with this community and this region in trying to improve and in trying to harness the water resources for use for irrigation in this region as effective as much as possible as we can do. Thank you for...
We speak about irrigation as it's a very important term, or it's actually a buzzword. Farmers say, I'm actually doing irrigation. Maybe let's just unpack. I want to understand when we talk about like precision irrigation, what is it all about?
Okay, before we go to being precise about irrigation, the whole basis of it is just about bringing more water, or rather supplementing, or actually just making it the sole provision of water to your plant, to your crop. It doesn't matter which plant, those plants, they need water, and that process of giving your plants water is what we are referring to as irrigation. And when you take the concept better to being precise, there are so many ways around it, depending on the application. What crops are you growing? What do you want to achieve? How do you want to achieve it? So that's where you start looking around on how precise or how specific can you be in providing that water to your crops.
How do farmers actually go about choosing what irrigation system to actually use on their farms?
Okay, there is different approaches to choosing. The first one, what crops are you intending to grow? That's number one. Number two, how much water do you have available on your area, on your farm? How much water do you have access to? Number three, what's the quality of the water that you have access to? Number four, what kind of power sources do you have to drive that water from the original source onto that area that you want to irrigate? Number five, it's so important, what kind of relief do you have on your area? Is it a very gentle area? Do you have steepy slopes? So that affects how you are going to apply your water to crops. Then, how much are you willing to invest into the system? So those are the major issues to look at. And then, when you come to us, we can start working from that, looking into how best can we achieve the goal of application of water to your crops.
Maybe let me also bring in here the issue of what types of irrigation systems are there that then farmers could actually use, looking at both as a small scale farmer or even up to a commercial level.
Okay, the major ones, we have sprinklers, we have center pivots, we have movable hose reel machines, we have drip, we have other micro sprinklers. So those are the major methods of application. But for most, if you are going to smaller scale, it's mainly drip irrigation and sprinkler systems that usually are attractive to most smaller scale farmers. The larger scale farmers, some, yes, sprinkler, drip, and in most cases, some are much interested in pivots. And like I said, the approach to selecting will depend on those factors that I've mentioned before: your water, your area, your relief, and your costing. Yeah.
What are really the benefits, like if you're using a drip irrigation system, you know?
Okay, if you want to focus on the benefits of using a drip irrigation system, particularly the most important one is on water savings. For example, if I'm going to compare it to a sprinkler system on a 1 hectare field, on average, a sprinkler system would require you to pump in as much water as up to and above 60,000 liters of water an hour. And on a drip system, if you are going to select a drip line to cover a hectare, say with a discharging 1 liter of water in an hour per plant, 30 centimeter spacing, you would reduce your water requirement down to about 33,000 liters an hour from over 60,000 liters an hour. So if you look at that, that's a very big water saving, especially if you are in a drier region, and that would actually take you longer in the season.
And can like people can have drip irrigation, you know, like in my backyard, if I have my backyard garden, what type of system can I put, you know, that if I opt for going for drip irrigation?
If you opt to go for a drip, if it's your backyard, yes, you can have drip in your backyard. What you might be looking at, if you are trying to look at water saving, maybe you are trying to look at how often you are going to irrigate, and selecting which drip line has the best discharge of water that will actually give you the most benefits of saving. That's basically what you need to do. And looking at how long we are going to be irrigating. Yes, you might have your drip lines or a drip system in your backyard, but just because you have a drip system doesn't mean you have to leave it running overnight.
Then tell me, like, what crops are, you know, best suited that you could actually use with the drip irrigation systems?
Most row crops are suitable for drip irrigation. And when I say row crops, I mean your maize, your tomatoes, your cabbages, your most vegetables. They are quite suitable, very much suitable for drip irrigation, especially those with a bit of a wider inter-row spacing, which actually even on tobacco. So it's actually something that can work better on row crops. Yes.
You mentioned something about spacing. Could you actually really explain further why is that important, that you should actually have the right spacing when we are actually installing a drip irrigation system?
Yes, it is important to actually consider the right spacing for your crops. It's okay. Say you wish to grow an onion crop, and your next neighbor is opting for a tomato crop. The investment you would put on an onion crop against on a tomato crop will be different, in the sense that your onion will need a tighter spacing. That's a smaller spacing. That means you need more and more and more drip lines. So the more you have, the more you are going to put on costing of that. 1. 2, it means you're also having to put in more water per unit area as compared to your next neighbor farmer.
Okay. How can farmers achieve water saving and remain profitable in using their chosen, irrigation systems?
So it is important to sit down before you actually invest into an irrigation system. Sit down with your designer, discuss those options we mentioned earlier, the factors that are important to choosing the right package for you. When you've done that and you've come up with the proper system for your application, That's when you get the recommended operating procedures, recommended operating times for that system. If you do that, if you manage that, I tell you, you will enjoy using any irrigation system. You will never go wrong with any of those systems. If you are required to irrigate for 2 hours, irrigate for 2 hours. If you irrigate for 1.5 hours, it means you have shortchanged those plants. You have irrigated less than they require. If you irrigate for 2.5 hours, it means you have applied more than what they need. And if you are fertilizing, it means you have leached out most of your nutrients, which you had fertilized. They are now beyond your crop's root zone. So, yes, you have applied water, but you have also taken away the nutrients you have applied for that crop.
So how then can farmers actually ensure that they don't under irrigate and they don't over irrigate? What considerations should they actually make in ensuring that they get the optimum irrigation actually needed, in their crops?
Okay, if you can't do it yourself, manually opening, closing your valves and all, thank God for technology always coming in. There are ways to do it. You can do timers, you can do automated timers. They can open and close when you want to irrigate, or you can do other systems, automated systems that you can link to your Wi-Fi and devices. You can control those systems online wherever you are, and you can also get reports back. This section is not irrigating, that section is irrigating badly. Then you can quickly rectify those problems. There's always maintenance in all systems, so you get that time to, you get that quick feedback and get to work on those hiccups quickly and still get the best results out of your systems. And in systems where you're doing manually, sometimes it's good to put in flow meters, just like any water meter. You know how much water has gone into your fields. You can actually take readings, how much water has gone into there. Then you can see, oh, there's a change. Something is not right. Then you look into your system and you keep on maintaining that system and you'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Let's talk investment here. Well, just give us an indication really on how much could a farmer look at investing, in putting up maybe from the basic, irrigation system and then maybe up to, a large scale, undertaking.
So it will depend. For example, take for instance a drip scheme. Depending on the operation required, you can start from say a $1,300 upwards. That will vary with the selection of drip line, selection of equipment, or the way you want your system to be set up. But that way, on a sprinkler system, say a portable one, not a fixed per hectare, say a movable system, $800 upwards, you still be able to invest and start growing.
Now, that's quite interesting that you mentioned, yes, you could look at really at that investment. I'm then also keen to understand that given once you have an irrigation system on your farm or even in your backyard, it becomes semi-permanent, maybe in the duration of the planting season. What considerations could actually farmers, make in ensuring that, in laying out the system and ensuring that the system will operate efficiently?
Okay, so there are, I understand there are some seasons. Someone might say, you know what, I'm not going to be growing anything during this period. So there's always need to have a proper housing area for your equipment. Like drip line, you can't leave it lying down in the field. What's going to happen? You're going to have rodents eating up everything. And the next time you come back, there's nothing. you have to start over again. For example, sprinklers, yes, you have to take them, put them in your sheds, just lock them away in those sheds. When you need them, take them out, connect back to your main lines and start irrigating again. Those things, they are also important. You also need to consider that you have enough storage for that equipment, that you can't leave lying out when you are not using it. Yes.
Yeah. Then any other tips really that you could actually give, or on the maintenance of irrigation systems, so that you still get better value?
I think from what I've experienced and seen so far, most people neglect filtration of water. You see, we have different water sources. Some take from rivers, some take from dams, others we are taking from boreholes. But there is a perception to say, it's coming from a borehole, it's a clean water. In boreholes, you actually you can pump out silt out of boreholes, and you feed that into your system. And when you feed that into your system, particularly those using drip, you end up having clogged drip line emitters. Then you hear someone saying, look, I have a 100-meter line, but some of them, they are not dripping. What's going on? It's important to filter your water. It is important to filter that water, but especially when those with boreholes, some just think, it's coming down from down there, there's nothing, it's all clean. Please do add filters to those systems. And for those with boreholes that have lime issues, you also experience emitter clogging due to that salinity from water. So it's also important to have that water treated for lime. Get your water tested. In fact, get your water tested. Not always, but just get it tested. See what you have to treat in that water, and you enjoy using it.
And also have irrigation system actually in the farm. And how long do these irrigation systems actually last before you actually need to replace them?
Well, all systems do have a lifespan, but on selection, that's when I said, depending on what you want to achieve. From the very beginning, when you were designing your system, if you select the right product, I'm telling you, last long. So take, for example, anyway, we are focusing more on drip. If you take, for example, drip lines, they have different qualities. You have different thicknesses on drip lines: 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.7, 1 millimeter in thickness. So all those drip lines will not last the same period of time. Are you in for the long run, or you're just interested in just 1, 2, 3 seasons and that's it? So if you select for 2, 3 seasons, that's what you get. If you select a drip line that will last you 10 seasons, you will get 10 seasons. So it's also important. That's why I said it's important to sit down with your designer and say, look, I want to achieve this. And you will definitely get the perfect equipment for that purpose.
Interesting, because so it means that quality is also a factor here in actually choosing your drip lines that you want to actually use on your farm.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Is there any particular training that then farmers should undergo, in fact, when they have actually decided to actually invest in using drip irrigation?
Well, I wouldn't call it specialist, but yes, an irrigation system is a machine, and any machine needs servicing. So it is also important for farmers to understand that when they invest into an irrigation system, they get to know the products that they have in that irrigation system and what requirements they need. After how long do you get to flush your filters? After how long do you get to service your pumps? What do you look at to say okay, now it is time to do this, now it is time to replace this. So yes, farmers will also need to understand the products that they are using, and every product has a different requirement. So when they do buy products from us, yes, we will give you that information, and if you have any queries, you are always free to come in or call in and say, look, I bought this, my system is behaving this way, and then we can discuss with each other, enlighten each other, and keep going that way.
Effective irrigation saves water, costs, as well as increasing productivity. It is critical, therefore, that farmers should invest in effective irrigation systems. My guest in today's program was Luther Mashava, an irrigation specialist at DripTech, who shared his insights on the opportunities and the benefits of actually investing in irrigation systems. This is Asake Online. It was actually on the program on Agriculture on Cite. Join us again for our next episode, where we'll be discussing and meeting with farmers and other people who make farming their business.